homesteading to prepping to common horse sense, we are College Hill Farm. Welcome back to College Hill Farm. Well, today it's time to harvest our Cherokee Purple tomatoes. They're a big heirloom tomato. They bruise real easy. They're perfectly ripe right now. Now I'm going to harvest these and take them in and let Crystal process them. We'll show you the processing, what we do with them to get them ready for the dehydrator, and then the dehydration process. So a lot of this channel, I've got a lot of new subscribers, so I'm going to say this. My name's Joel. This is College Hill Farm, of course. I'm a retired physics professor. My wife's a retired registered nurse. We spend our time trying to help people with limited mobility, with mobility issues. I have multiple sclerosis, so that gives me a lot of mobility issues, but I try and show people how to homestead even though they've got these issues. Now, you don't have to do everything perfect. You don't have to be perfect on the homestead, but bending over, for me, is one of my big mobility issues. I have a hard time bending and getting something off the ground. Well, when I was harvesting these tomatoes for the last 4 or 5 years, it's been murder. I've harvested them in flat totes because if you set tomato on top of tomato, they wind up bruising, and then you don't want to put them in the dehydrator all bruised up because they don't do as well. So I wanted to devise something that I could use to harvest these tomatoes without them getting all bruised up all the time. Well, using a flat tray, I'd set the tray on the ground, but then when the tray was full, and it was a tray, it was 2.5 feet square, and when I'd have to pick it up, I'd have to bend all the way over and pick it up off the ground. Not to mention you got to do all the bending picking the tomatoes. So I came up with a solution for me. I don't know how it'll work out, but this is my solution. It's a 5-gallon bucket. Now you can go back, I'll try and put a link, but you can go back and look at the video. Inside this bucket I've created tiers. And when I first did it, I made it where the tiers were like this. Okay? But that was going to be hard putting the tiers in after the tomatoes were in. So I decided to just turn them upside down. There's a tier in the bottom. Then you put a row of tomatoes in there. Then you put that in, another row of tomatoes, and then the cap, and another row of tomatoes. So you get 3 layers of these big old heirloom tomatoes, but they're not weighting each other down. And there's another added bonus. Again, it's about bending. I couldn't bend over and pick the trays up hardly. I can hold on to the bucket. I can just set the bucket down and get it easy. But here's the other thing. When the bucket's on the ground, you can use the bucket as a steady to pick. And it gives you something else to steady yourself while you're bending over and harvesting these big old tomatoes. Let me grab a couple and show you what I'm talking about. Yep, that was bad. Okay. This is the kind of tomatoes I'm talking about. They're big old ugly heirloom tomatoes, but they have the best flavor of any tomato on the planet. And what I can do is I can take my bucket and start putting these in. And I can put several tomatoes in there before I put on the next level. So I'm going to get down through here and harvest these and you can come on for the ride. Okay, I'd call that a success. The bucket helped me bend over a few times. I leaned on the cages some. But bending over to pick the tomatoes up and carry them back, tons better. Tons and tons and tons. My back's only hurting a little bit. This is what we got. See if you can see that. 3 5-gallon buckets of Cherokee Purple tomatoes. Now, time for me to get those into Crystal. She washes it, takes off anything that needs to be taken off. Cuts off the blossom end. And she's going to cut that stem off that was tough. Then she slices them long ways. Because of the way Cherokee Purple seeds are, it's easier to do if you slice the tomato in that direction instead of slicing across. Gives you a nice cross section. Then you can cut out the stem and then slice it into slices to be put in the bowl. Remove the seeds. After a while you get pretty good at knowing where the seeds are. Now that's about 1/4 to a 1/2 inch thick. We don't worry about taking the skins off unless they're in bad shape. The seeds are out, any pith is off. That's a 1/2 inch thick piece ready for the dehydrator. What you see here, that's 1 row of the buckets that we did. 1 tier in that container. Okay, Crystal's got all these done. She's placing them on our dehydrator racks. They're cleaned. All the seeds are out. It's just tomato flesh that she's putting there. And she'll place these on the racks. We have 7 racks that stack on top of each other. And she'll place these on these racks such that the air can move around them. Now, one of those buckets will fill this 7-rack dehydrator. This is a Presto Dehydro. We've got 2 of them. And it will fill this dehydrator. And then once we run these, we set them out on the porch and they'll run all night. And then tomorrow we'll show you the rest. Okay, this dehydrator just came out. You can see how big the slices are. Okay, earlier this morning, about 3 hours ago, these were the same size. Oh, I love this smell. Anyway, so it doesn't take these dehydrators long. Now this one's got 8 trays, and that one's got 6 trays. Alright, show you the end product in the morning. Okay, there was still a bucket of tomatoes left, so Crystal will cut off any bad places, wash them, cap them, and put them in a freezer bag, and these are going to go in the freezer. Because you just can't let that go to waste. And over there is probably dinner tonight.
This one's about too soft to do anything with.
Oh, that one's so ripe and soft. About can't hardly cut it. She'll cut out any bruised spots, any too soft spots, because those will just be bad. And then she'll get those filled up. Okay, here's the final results of our Cherokee Purple process. Those 3 5-gallon buckets with the 3 tiers in them gave us 2 quart jars. Gave us a plate here that's not done. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to take your stuff out before it's done. Some of these got done before others. If you leave them too long in the dehydrator, they get bad. But now these are just right. Oh, they are just packed with flavor. Now, if you like this kind of stuff, this homesteading, do-it-yourself kind of thing, be certain to come on out to the channel and subscribe. We do this homesteading stuff every week, sometimes 1, sometimes 5 videos. Just depends on what's going on in the homestead that week. If you hit the little bell when you come to the channel, it'll notify you when we upload a video. We upload every Sunday. Now, it's time for me to get on to the next thing and have another piece of dehydrated Cherokee Purple. Oh, it's so good.